What's good, everybody? Chris here again. Chris Goes Outdoors. One of my more requested videos from the AT was to show how I would go about packing my backpack. I just filmed the video showing what's inside of it. All the stuff's laying right next to me, so I'm going to show you how I go about packing it right now. So the bag itself is empty. I would typically make sure that the load lifters were completely loosened up. That way, when I readjust later, I can put it on, readjust, depending on how the pack is sitting at the time. I just liked having them loosened all the way. The pack is empty with the exception of the Z seat, which is attached right here. So we have inside of the bag a compactor bag to keep things that we want dry. The bag itself is pretty water resistant, as they say, but this kind of helps make sure that nothing's getting wet. Typically, I would take my sleeping bag and I would put this against the back side of the backpack. So the part of the bag that would be on my back. So it's in the back section here at the bottom. And then I would typically take my sleeping pad right here. I just rolled this up and would fold it like this. And I would cram that toward the front. And I would also take my clothing bag. So this is typically filled with my clothes. And I would take this, push that in on top of the sleeping pad. That clothing bag had none of my clothing in there, so I'm just gonna cram all the clothing into the bag. If I felt like I was going to need something throughout the day clothing-wise, I would typically leave that out and save it for last and put it on top of everything after everything else was loaded. For instance, got a pair of gloves, I would keep these maybe on the outside of the bag if it was a cold day, if I need easy, quick access to them. So after all that was in there, I would then take my food bag. So typically this thing was huge. It'd be all bulked up, it weighs a lot, and I would want this right in the center of my bag. So I would drop that on top there, and that would take up a very good portion of the bag typically, especially if it was like a 5-day plus resupply run. And then around that, I would typically put my down jacket and fill out the little spots that were in the bag. And I would also take the rain jacket and try to fill out the other little spots, make sure that the food bag was nice and situated in there. Take my tent right here. And then typically my toiletry bag, there would be some toilet paper in here as well, would go right on top. Easy access. You definitely want easy access for that stuff. I would also keep my electronics bag near the top, just in case I needed camera batteries or something, quick access. If I wanted to try to charge something up at lunchtime, I would have easy access to that. And that's about it for the inside of the bag. So I would take this, roll it up, snap that down. Occasionally, if it was kind of cool out, I would keep my Melanzana hoodie outside here. That way I could pop it on, pop it off, depending on whether or not I needed it. And on the outside of the bag, I typically kept my tent stakes. I would keep my water filtration system over here. My bear line would also go in here. My repair and first aid kit, I would typically leave outside the pack. Sometimes, depending if it was raining, I would just throw it in the bottom with the compactor bag just to make sure it stayed dry. Again, in the entirety of the trail, I never used anything in this bag, I don't think. Threw that in there. I would have a sunscreen outside. Then I would keep my rain gear outside as well most of the time. At least the rain skirt I would keep, because I would use this if, sitting down for lunch, I'd place it over a log to sit on. I would place it on the ground to use as a little table. So I typically had this outside all of the time, and I just jam it in there. The pack cover, unless I knew or there was a very high chance it was gonna rain, sometimes it was outside, sometimes I would cram it just in my bag, keep it out of the way of everything else. Snacks for the day, you gotta have these, gotta have the old snacks on deck. And I also have the AWOL guide in here too. I would keep these in the outside pocket as well. I'd pop my water bottles in. Then I would have my camera on my little Joby tripod, which I would keep in the pocket right here. And that's it. That's all I did to pack my bag. It was a pretty simple thing. Once you get it down, it becomes routine. Everything gets in there super quick, super fast. So if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and maybe subscribing to the channel. All sorts of videos are coming up. I'll have some links. You can check out some of the gear in this video in the description. If you click and buy from them, they do kind of help the channel out, so it's greatly appreciated. And you can follow me on Instagram at Chris Goes Outdoors. And until next time, we'll catch you in the next video. Take care.